1 2 1 2. We're here. We're live. It's the end of April 29th. This is Ted Hicks, Late Night Parent Radio. As always, excited to be here. As always, kind of refreshed to be here because this is what I use for my outlet. Hopefully, you can use it for your outlet. And, every week we talk about, specific guests. We talk about trends. We talk about parenting and technology and education, sports, product reviews. I usually sit up here every week and some of the times brag and boast about where I've been or the newest mobile device I have in my hand. I'm just not in the mood for it tonight. Not at all. Before I even get started, prayers go out to Nepal. So much has happened since we talked last week. Tonight's episode is Vigilance, episode 26. The ways to get in contact with us, 347-857-1947. That number again, 347-857-1947. Tonight we're not live streaming through Periscope or Meerkat. We're going to have some serious discussion in our first segment. I mean, ultimately, it's about what happened. I had the opportunity on Monday I was working remote, and one of my friends texted me and said, turn on CNN. And I saw something that was happening in Baltimore, Maryland, a place that's 4 hours away, not some third world country, somewhere that I've traveled often to go see, whether to go down there to the Inner Harbor or to go to Camden Yards. And I just saw it was just utter madness happening on TV. We're going to get into that. As always, we want to thank our radio partners that stand by us every week. You folks know who you are. I want to thank the folks that have sent me text messages and called and everything else like that. I kind of didn't know the angle to go for tonight's show because it was going to be about the big sports weekend that we have coming up. But with the issue with the earthquake and with Baltimore, I don't know, the streets were just taken over. We decided to change it up. Tonight we're going 2 hours. We usually go 1 hour per week. We want to thank the Happy Hour Network, as always, for supporting us on this endeavor. But we're going to get right into it. It's 4 minutes past the hour. First hour number one, we're talking to Tiffany Copon, who's a mom and Baltimore resident. Hour number two, that's 5 minutes past the hour. We're going to get her on the line now. 30 minutes past the hour, Michael LoBianco, we're going to talk, are you ready to cut the cord? Hour two, we're going to be talking with Bucko Bruce about the NFL draft. So we're going to have a BUCS insider talking about the NFL draft. After that, we're going to have Michael Esposito talking about the Kentucky Derby. And then we're going to close out the show with Genuinely H5, Hezzy McCaleb, talking about the resurgence of boxing. But it's 5 minutes past the hour. We're going to get into it. You can catch us on Twitter, The Real Ted Hicks, or Late Night Parent. You can catch us on Facebook, facebook.com/Late Night Parents. Or you can go to our website, leave a comment, latenightparents.com. We're going to get right into it with Tiffany Copon. She's live right now. Not only is she a mother, but she's also someone I like to say is a label mate because she's an entrepreneur. She's someone who's proud to be a Baltimore resident. She's going to walk us through what's happening in her city since the death of Freddy Gray, the funeral, the riot, Baltimore riots, the uprising, what's going on in New York now. I'll be able to chime in. Shut It Down NYC is going on right now in Union Square. It's a lot going on. Tiffany, how you doing?
I'm okay. Just like you said, it's a lot going on right now. And I just wanted to clarify. I'm born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. Born and raised. I don't live there now. I live in Bowie, which is like 30 minutes outside of Baltimore. But all my family, my family, they're still in Baltimore, and it's a lot going on. And people are angry. that's what I want to say.
So, Tiffany, I got to jump in here and say, there's a level of frustration going on because in the African American community, they're noticing a trend of black men that are being, shot down or killed or all the above by law enforcement. Now, there's both sides to this. But we're noticing that whether it's Ferguson, New York, Baltimore, and that's just in the last 6 to 8 months. The other side of it is, we got cops being slain all over the place. It's like I'm not really sure what's going on nowadays. So I wanted to reach out to you. Number one, you also are a member of this network on the Happy Hour Network, but at the same time, you represent a unique perspective. Being a member on this network and also being a mother and being born and raised in Baltimore, tell me about some of the emotion. Tell me about it, because what we see on the news is one side of it, and what you see on Twitter and everything else in social media is a total different side of it, because we can see the protests that were peaceful, but everything that I saw on the TV was just people wilding out in the streets, burning it down.
Yeah, this was one of those things. I have to be honest with you. The media had a huge part in just showing, complete negativity. There were a handful of hooligans, who are just opportunistically causing problems and everything. But, the media decided to cover just that small part of people. They didn't want to show, people cleaning up, or actually the people who are telling people not to do that. Don't destroy your neighborhood. But, you have to look at it. Since 1935, there have been nearly, 100 quote-unquote race riots in the United States. And each one has been sparked by a police incident, like some act of police brutality, a senseless killing. But people need to realize that, the underlying causes run much deeper than that. The police, they interact in our black communities every day, are often seen as a larger system of inequality in the justice system, employment, education, and housing. So people are really upset, when you have people who are oppressed and depressed, and they feel like they don't know how to fight, never been taught how to fight the right way. This is what you get. This killing of this young man, however long his rap sheet was, and even, there's some talk about him being in an accident and his back was already hurt. He was still able to run. That's one thing. And he was very much alive. You know what I mean? So his death was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on here because there's going to be a lot of blame to go around, because at any time there's the upcoming elections that are going to be happening within the next few months. Of course, we had the 2016 elections, but already I could see some, that blame game between your mayor and the governor, where
he came out. Yeah, he came out swinging. With that, he threw her completely under the bus. But the sad part, I can't call it sad. I kind of understand why she held off, and I'll give my opinion on that. If you think about it, she's an African American woman, and she basically wanted to try to handle things herself. She didn't want to seem to her people or to the city of Baltimore that she had to call somebody in to handle them. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense, but Tiffany, I got to jump in and say it makes sense maybe on Saturday, but when that powder keg.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I agree with what you're saying. She may have waited, too long. But she should have had him on standby, at least. Hey, if this doesn't happen, then we need to move to this. All that should have been in play. But again, I think I understand where she was, but I'm not in her head. This is my own opinion.
Right.
I really wish that, people didn't burn down, places that they needed. You know what I mean? Like I wish they weren't so destructive, because burning down the CVS and then the senior home that's not justice. You destroyed something in your own neighborhood.
Tiffany, I got to jump in and say, so you have a man who's no longer with us, whose spine was severed. I'm not even sure what that means, but his spine was severed, and going into the liquor store and cleaning out the liquor store because you're upset. That just doesn't do it for me.
No, it doesn't do it for me either. It was the wrong thing to do. But like I said, those were the handful of people, who decided to take an opportunity to do wrong, to do bad.
And I think what needs to be clarified is the fact that the people that were doing this, I guess Monday, the ones that are still in jail right now, the 230 or so people that are still locked up with no charge. Do you want to call them gangsters, hooligans, thugs? Thug is the new word that's thrown around.
Well, I'm having a problem with the thug thing because that's PC for another word that I'm not going to use right now, and it just is. I don't care if they're black, white, whatever. The people who did those things, they were wrong. They were animals.
They were animals.
They turned. Well, see, here's the thing. Let me go on that as well. If you look at it was a surf competition over in Huntington Beach, California, and these people rioted and everything after the surf competition. Those people weren't called thugs. They look at Vancouver, Canada, where a hockey team lost, and they went rioting because they lost. And, those who weren't called thugs or animals or anything like that. They were just upset youth, and that type of thing. So I think we need to be fair on what we call this. One shouldn't be called a thug and the other one, something else. I believe these people were all wrong for looting and messing up things and breaking things, but we keep reserving these other names for black people, and I'm having a problem with that.
Oh no, I'm definitely with you because, like I said, it's the new thing to say. It's the new thing to say where and folks are being slick about it. We know who, we know who's not doing right. We know who's, like I said, you got someone who's dead. And the only pictures I see, the visual pictures I see, are folks that have toilet tissue or iced tea in their hand. And it's like, it's making a mockery out of it.
Well, I mean, I posted something to my Facebook account, and I mean, I'll actually read it to you. I said I was very ashamed at the behavior of some of the people in my hometown of Baltimore. Folks took what was supposed to be a peaceful protest and turned it into a disgusting display of barbarianism. Baltimore is a predominantly black African-American city, and what we pretty much accomplished here were two things. You acted like animals that the people already perceive us to be, which in any person's mind that's watching now somehow validates or necessitates harsh treatment, and that we do not deserve the benefit of doubt and presumed innocence when and if we have interactions with the police. And I just said, we need to do better, and if we want to be looked at differently in the world. And I really meant that. I meant that, I'm not sure how you feel about that, but, I try not to use the word animals, but they pretty much acted like animals. I had to say that.
Right. Tiffany, I need you to hold on one second. We got a caller on the line, all right?
Okay.
Good evening, Late Night Parents. Ted speaking.
Ted, can you hear me?
Hey, I can hear you. Who is this?
Ted, what's up? This is Jay, man.
Hey, Jay, how you doing? Hey, listen,
everything
you have I know you're also a Maryland
yes, I used to live in Bowie. How you doing, Tiffany? I used to live in Bowie.
Hey, how are you?
Everything is well.
Jay, you have any comments from Monday from the riots? And because I don't know, I just don't know about the feeling about this, but I'm glad you I'm just glad to hear from you.
Yeah, definitely, and definitely, great show, great show. It's just, it's a lot of hurt feelings. I just feel hurt of a lot of different situations. Definitely feel hurt. There's a lot of situations with police brutality, and it just goes unnoticed. Just think about all the stuff that goes unnoticed, but when you notice it swift justice has to be done. I mean, that police officer, if it's, you don't know if it's true, that police officer has to get taken out in cuffs and has to get arrested, because it just seems like it's a good old boy thing, and that's my friend, and we'll not do anything. But as far as like the looting and rioting, I used to live in L.A., and I lived in L.A. early 2000, and looting and rioting hurts the community so much. And there are still places in L.A. right now that are not rebuilt from the Rodney King era. So, I mean, today, I used to work for a record label, and I used to deal with an account called Downtown Locker Room. And what you see on TV, you see like that CVS, and you see like the check cash and paste, but they lost 6 stores, and they show pictures of their stores. And these are jobs.
They were destroyed.
Yeah, these were people.
The CVS were people's jobs. The downtown locker room were people's jobs, and the CVS were a place where people were supposed to get their medication. Now people can't get their medication. So I mean, there's no doubt this was an absolute travesty. Okay, and again, people when people don't know how to express their feelings, this is what you get sometimes when people aren't emotionally mature. Because you have ignorance breeding ignorance, and sadly, that's where I came from. You know what I mean? So I totally understand exactly what you're saying, and you're right. There are a lot of hurt feelings, but we need to find a better way, because we're not going to be hurt like this.
Yeah, and any cop accused of doing brutality, they need to be locked up immediately. Ask questions later, because it just seems like there's a waiting period and a hiding period, and they'll be suspended with pay.
Absolutely, there should be transparency instead of all this, like you said, hiding of things and letting them sit back and corroborate their stories. You know,
because it builds up. It just boils over.
And that's what happened on Saturday.
Yeah.
I just want to jump in, Jay. Thanks for the call. Thanks for the support as always.
Keep doing what y'all do.
Thank you, Tiffany. I just want to say really quick that there's small business owners that no longer have their business that were providing a service to the community.
Mm-hmm.
There's grocers that were out there that the community was depending on, and these businesses no longer. There's 19 burnt down buildings external to that CVS.
As I said, it's a very, very, very sad situation. People didn't know how to express their anger, you know, and that's what happened. You know, it's sad. Those people are locked up. Hopefully, most of them are locked up, you know, but we now need to educate people on how they are to fight back and not just be destructive and, you know, go and destroy their neighborhoods. I think there's a mass education needs to happen. It needs to happen. I think there needs to be some sit downs with prominent people on both sides, you know, maybe community leaders with the politicians and everything, and we need to have an open discussion on how because there's a great divide, a great disconnect between the community and law enforcement and, you know, politicians. It's a great divide.
Tiffany, really quick, I want you to answer a question. If you were in that situation of that mother, everyone in America is talking about the mother that was watching TV, noticed her son was throwing bricks and rocks at the police. Tell me your stance on that.
Oh, that's easy. That could have easily been me. I have a 17-year-old son, and I would have done the exact same thing, no bones about it. I don't want anybody to hear any hesitation in my voice, you know, because it's at this point in the situation in this world, it's either you beat their butts now or you bury them. You know what I mean? That's what's happening if you don't teach your children discipline. And let me go on to say this. Removing discipline was the problem. You know, and when I say discipline, I don't mean abuse. You know, there's a huge difference between the two. Abuse is, you know, being cruel and beating a child with no regard and, you know, withholding emotions or neglecting their feelings, among other things. But, you know, I mean, 'cause I know abuse. Actually, I was abused, you know, at the hands of my mother. So I kind of know what that's like. But, you know, right now, these teens and kids, they're like overprivileged, enabled, they're rebellious. Some of them think that the world revolves around them. They have no concept of right or wrong or, you know, the concept of hard work or being accountable for their actions because of lack of discipline. You know, if you think about it like this, you have teachers in schools who are afraid to teach, you know, or demand respect or give a failing grade to students because they're afraid the child's parents is going to come to the school and reprimand them, or worse yet, try to fight them. You know, in the instance of one of these cities, a parent went up to the school and actually beat the teacher up. You know, I'm not exactly what could have caused that woman to want to go fight a teacher. You know, and then you have, you know, the parents who are afraid to, for the lack of a better term, parent their children because the kids somehow, some kind of way, feel empowered to call the police on their parent because they don't like the punishment or something that the parent says. So I don't know what's going on with that, you know. But with all the enabling and shielding and coddling of these children, the kids aren't afraid of anybody because, you know, they've had all their consequences of their actions blocked. You know, and if you ask me, the best teacher is experience. And I believe some of these kids just haven't experienced or weren't able to experience anything. So that is it right there.
Tiffany, hold on 1 second. I got to pick up another call.
Okay.
Good evening, late night parent. Ted speaking. Who's on the line? Okay, I think we just have someone listening. Tiffany, just really quick, you're also a member of this network. We're looking forward to the Chronic Kitties. If you can give us a quick summary of your show that will soon be on our network, I guess give us your elevator speech.
Well, baby, pretty much it's staying sexy, sassy, and sane living with a chronic illness. I have lupus, and I know there are other women out there who, deal with, chronic illnesses such as lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's syndrome, diabetes, heart disease, and things that they need to deal with. And, with a lot of humor and a pinch of positivity, I want to let women know that an awesome quality of life is still possible, even though you suffer from chronic and or debilitating illness. And that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, Tiffany, I want to thank you for sharing your unfiltered, uncensored thoughts with us, because this is what we're all thinking, because in the end, we're all parents. And yeah. I tell you, me for one, looking at that and seeing the youth, and just happened that same day, ironically, I received a book from Jan Arnaud, who's going to be on the show in the next couple of weeks, In the Line of Fire, Raising Kids in a Violent World. So I began reading this book, and, it started to bring me to tears. I tell you that much, because it's real. It's real, and it hurts to see our youth out there that are out of control.
Yeah, well, starts. It's at home. It starts at home. It really does.
It starts at the home. It starts when the minute that youth rebels against you, and you don't respond back, or that youth is taking over your home. Right at that point.
Yeah, that's what I meant about, parents afraid to parent their children. I'll say it again. You beat their little butts, or you bury them. That's just how it is, because if they buck up against you and you allow it, then they will believe that they can buck up against other authority figures, also known as police, and the police aren't going to have any mercy. So you have to teach them. You have to teach them. You have to teach them early. You really do. That's just it.
Tiffany, tell us the best ways to get in contact with you.
My personal Twitter account is @MissToy, and that's spelled MSTOI. Or you can catch me on Instagram, and that is @MZT Copon. That's MZTCOPON. And you can also visit my websites, chronickitties.com or sassygirlkitchenwareforacure.com.
Excellent. Tiffany, I want to give you a one-time round of applause. Thank you so much for working with us tonight, as always, being available for us and giving us your perspective.
Thanks for having me, and we'll definitely be talking soon.
Okay, thanks so much, Tiffany.
Okay.
That was Tiffany Copon, who's a mom and who lives in the greater Maryland, D.C. area, and who was raised in Baltimore, B-more. I in between right now, myself and in the queue, we have Multimedia Consultant Michael LoBianco. The only thing I could think of from seeing the visuals on TV was I was thinking this is really like The Wire, or they were showing police cars on fire. I was thinking this is like John Rambo, And I'm not trying to be a wise ass tonight, but it's the truth. The stuff that you saw in the streets, there's going to be a lot of blame to go around on both sides. But I stand by what I believe. We're all upset with what happened with Freddy Gray, just as the other injustices that have happened to African American males over the past year, but looting and robbing and attacking police officers. These officers are out here. I mean, let's put it this way. Every officer is not bad, okay? So, I mean, are there a few bad apples? Yes, there are a few bad apples out there. I don't feel like they're all out of control, because if they were, we would be in a lawless place. It would be like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. You know, and thankfully it's not. But I tell you, from the visuals that we saw on Monday through the media, it seemed surely like that. We're going to quickly transition. We have in the queue Multimedia Consultant asking the question, are you ready to cut the cord? We're going to take a walk through today's streaming media services, and I guess Michael LoBianco is gonna try and convince me into cutting the cord and saying goodbye to cable and satellite. I don't know if he can do it. Michael, are you on the air?
Yes, I am, Ted. How you doing this evening?
Pretty good. Thank you for calling the show and agreeing to join us for this detailed discussion on cord cutters.
No, Ted, thank
Michael,
you for the opportunity to be here. And what we're talking about now with the cord cutting, it's not, as everyone says, I'm just going to walk outside and cut my cable. I'm going to try to explain to you how to reduce the cable footprint in your home. Let's call we're doing it that way, because we still do need cable. We do need cable. We do need dish services. Okay, so I mean, we'll get right into it. I mean, in the IT world or in the everyday consumer technology world, it's about bring your own device. I mean, I kind of, when we attack this topic, I kind of thought of it as bring your own service. So, I mean, what's all the noise about streaming? I mean, what's your thoughts? Well, the big push right now is in this new streaming technology that's available. And there are companies out there, tons of companies that are doing it and have been doing it for a while yet. Some of the big ones that everyone knows about are our Hulus, our Netflix, our Amazon Primes. Those are the companies that they know of that are doing this streaming and are providing the streaming technology. But there have been a myriad of other players in the field. Now, if anyone remembers the good old days of the 1990s when we all had VCRs, a little-known company called TiVo came into the picture. TiVo worked out a deal with Time Warner and a company called SBI out of Florida to produce a multimedia entertainment system. And this system, they wanted to be able to emulate what was being done on a VCR, but digitally or electronically. Hence, TiVo was born. A gentleman by the name of Mike Ramsey and James Barton. Back in January of 1999, started the project, and by March, they were able to launch and bring out the first devices to CES. And that's the computer electronics shows. Okay.
So tell me this much before we even get into the real services. Who's controlling the media? I mean, is it like 3,500 different small startup companies? Because in our research, it seems like it's like 6 corporations.
Exactly.
Let me get this straight. The Big 6 controls 70% of your cable. 3,700 businesses contribute to 30%. 178 million users read Time Warner News every month. What's your thoughts on when I say something like that?
You're exactly on. You're on the correct page. You're on the right page. Since 2011, when we started losing our antennas around the country, multimedia companies have joined forces to provide us with entertainment. Right now, to my knowledge, we have GE, we have News Corp,
we have Disney, we have Viacom, we have Time Warner, and we have CBS. Those are the big, major players. But when you look at any one of these companies, let's just take, for instance, Disney. Everyone's familiar with the Happy Fun Disney logo, but how many of us know that Disney actually owns ABC or owns a portion of ESPN, Pixar, Miramax, and Marvel Studios? Let's take another company, Viacom, a little bit smaller player in the game. But when you look at what their assets are in the multimedia world, they're controlling MTV, Nick Jr., BET, CMT, Country Music Channel, and Paramount Pictures. So between those two players, I'm sure that every single one of us has seen a television show or a movie provided by one of those two players within the last week. And that's only two players in the game. So if you look at those two players, they're already controlling 10 major information distributors. I don't want to call them television stations because they're not all television. I want to say information distributors or media distributors because they cover the full gambit. When we think of media or entertainment, most of us are looking at what we see on television. But you have to understand that these companies, not only do they own and they represent television, but they're also our written media as well. When you think of ABC, ABC also has a press corps or a press group. So if you're in that clique or you're in that big six, you can kind of control the attitude of the entire country.
No, I got you. And as always, my phone is always ringing. I tell them to call one number, they're calling the other number because I don't know if this is Viacom or Fox calling us right now. I mean, it's I think you let the cat out of the bag. But I got to say this much. That's scary. I'll just quickly go to. In 1995, the FCC forbade companies to own over 40 stations, yet their channel 1,200 stations. I don't even want to discuss that because we're just talking about we're going to look at court centers. I just want to go now. We now know who the big six. So let's look at the primary hardware manufacturers for streaming market. I mean, you kind of let the cat out of the bag. You said Amazon, Google, Apple, Roku. Those are like the major four hardware manufacturers. But I think when you and I talked earlier, you kind of schooled me onto something that the hardware is not. They're getting the hardware from somewhere else, and they're just putting their logo on it. Give us a little insight on that.
Exactly. Like a lot of these companies, like for instance, your Netflix and your Hulus, they provide a service, but you're providing the device. You're providing the means of connecting to that service, which is going to make your cord cutting easier. The old school way of doing things where you go to your local cable, your local service provider, you sign up for a plan, they provide you with their equipment, and you're paying that rental fee on their equipment. So the cord cutters, what we're trying to do is we try to buy and or obtain all of our own equipment. And if you think about it the way that we do, is your cable company, they're going to deliver you the service. But in order for you to get their service, in most cases, you need to use their equipment. Their equipment is not free. So you're paying for the service, and then you're renting the equipment to get to the service. So what the cord cutters are doing, we've developed methods of getting access to that same information, but with our own equipment. Like, for instance, if you had a Roku and you had a Netflix account, you can practically pull up a menu or dim sum your own television experience because you're not tied to what's being shown at 8 o'clock on a particular station or channel. You go into your Netflix account, you go into your Hulu account, and you decide from their selection what you want to watch. So your 2 hour or 3 hours a night that you're watching television, you're not subjected to what the providers want to give you. You open up, you select from your own menu the shows that you want. So this is where television is now heading, and the providers are seeing that as well, because of many people across the country now are reducing their services because of offerings from Netflix and Hulu.
I got to jump in here and say, Michael, that last comment is correct, because I use, for the last 14 years, I've been a DirecTV customer. Now, I did not say goodbye to DirecTV. I just said goodbye to their premium package, because you get to a point where you're getting a monthly bill and it's $170, $180 a month, because multiple DVRs, and you're kind of marrying the DVRs together to increase your storage space, and the Genie boxes, and you name it. Something that you kind of brought to my attention is, even let's just say my cable modem, or let's just say I'm getting a package, I have the ability to use my own modem?
Correct, yes you do. Depending on your carrier or your provider, you can purchase your own modem. And what I would recommend that all of your listeners do, take stock of the equipment that they have in their home. If you're using a cable modem, look up the brand, look up the model, go online, do the research yourself, find out what that piece of equipment costs. Now, that being said, then you go back to your service provider, and you ask your service provider, well, I already own XYZ modem, which is the same one that you guys use. If I'm paying a $6 fee, and I'm going to leave it as something very simple, $5-6 fee. If I'm paying a $6 fee for renting your equipment, and I own the same exact equipment, can you activate my equipment for me and take away that monthly rental charge? If you think about it in that picture, a modem that you can probably purchase for $150, you only now need them to give you the service. So now you're paying that true $39 a month internet service, because you're supplying your own equipment. You're not renting their equipment for that $4, $6, $5 a month, which you'll never recoup. But by buying your equipment outright, you're ahead of the game, because your equipment will pay for itself in a year's time, in 18 months' time, and everything else after that is a bonus.
So my question I had to you is, we looked at the Amazon, the Google, the Apple, and Roku, and those are the major players, correct?
Correct.
And this new model, because everyone that I hear from, every CEO I hear from, they've stated that TV, the existing model, the legacy model of TV, is dead. It's had a wonderful 50-year run. There's a new way to deliver this. And my question is to you, we had those four major players. Are there any alternatives? Are there any new manufacturers? Are there, that are going to be a player in the third and fourth quarter of 2015? Like, whom else is going to come out, out of nowhere to be a player? Like, could we expect that with like a Microsoft? Or, I'm just looking from that perspective.
Oh yeah, they're coming in this year. You can expect a lot more of these little portable devices to become more prevalent. We've already discussed the Roku. We've already discussed the use of Hulu and for Netflix. But a lot of people didn't understand that there's software that you can add to your Sony PlayStation, which many of us already have, which is a combination DVD player, internet browser. Now it can be a media player. If you have that device, you can connect it with the proper software. That eliminates a cable box right there. That's just one device that we're going to be using. Another device that's going to be coming down the line that people are going to be looking at are the smart TVs. Now, we've all been introduced to them in the last few years, but a lot of us have not realized that these televisions actually contain mini computers. So you can take a device like a Google Chromecast, install that into the back of your television, now you're streaming videos or watching videos from your own mobile devices directly to your flat screen TV or directly to your smart TV. That's just one little device. The next one that everyone knows is the Apple TV. Beautiful little device made and designed by Apple. They have their own little app store that you can go to, and the same thing. You can install and set up your Hulu account. You can set up your Netflix and start streaming from there. Now, the most popular devices, and if you start looking on the internet, you're going to see millions of them. Well, millions is an exaggeration, but you're going to see plenty of them coming up, are these little new Android TV boxes or Android devices. And a lot of people look at these and they're only kids' toys or little. They are actual mini computers, and these devices you'll connect to your televisions, and it'll allow you to run the same Google application that you would use on your smartphone for getting into your video service to using that on the regular television. Now, majority of our service providers. I'm on Long Island, so we have Cablevision or Optimum. They recommend that if you want to watch your videos on the go, you download their Optimum app. So every company now is coming out with an app. So if you can find the correct Android device, load the company's app, there goes right there. You've already eliminated a $10, $12 a month cable box, provided that you don't want to watch their preferred content. When I say preferred, HBO, to me, would be considered a preferred content because anyone can get their local Channel 7, Channel 2, Channel 8. But when you want these premium services, which these companies are offering, then you would need to have at least one of their devices.
So I have a question about wanting to see about what's the new norm. Are we going to get to a point where, I guess in the mobile world with the mobile phones, you got your AT&T, you got your Sprint, you got your Verizon, and then you have your T-Mobile as the major players, and then you have the next tier players. Are we going to get to the point where, we noticed Tim Cook about a month ago was talking about the Apple, web TV services and HBO Now. Will that be the new norm where we see, I kind of like it. I mean, not that I'm an Apple fan, but I kind of like having a system that will provide you 35 to 40 channels versus my current system that gives me 500 channels and in 4 different languages.
Well, the thing is now with the current model, the way they have it set up is I can tell you I got 1,000 channels, and you're going to buy the package for that 1,000 channels. What the cord cutters do is we look at what are we actually going to be consuming. I don't need 1,000 channels. I don't want to pay you for 1,000 channels, but I am willing to pay for the 40 channels that I watch on a regular basis. And that's going to be that's starting to come down the pipe now. If you notice, a few weeks ago, ESPN and Verizon had gotten into a little tiff. And what happens is ESPN is going after Verizon over a TV package that Verizon has put together toward cord cutters. Can you imagine going to your Verizon and saying it's a $50, $60 a month package, and inside this package, I want to have X show, Y show, and Z show. So you can go to Verizon, select the 15 or 20 television shows that you want to consume on a regular basis, and you can make that as a choice. Now, Verizon has gotten into it with ESPN because ESPN was included in one of their Verizon packages, and ESPN wants to get paid for their lineup on an individual basis. So they want, just like our regular cable companies, they want you as a consumer to come directly to ESPN and buy your content from ESPN when Verizon was trying to bundle the package. It's just something that all of the cable service providers have been doing. And if you noticed in the last years, the big trend with all of the cable providers is, call your local company and tell them that you want your MTV back or you want your local MSG back. A lot of these cable companies are blocking out certain services or reducing their service costs by not wanting to provide a particular channel. So
I kind of noticed that, and that's a pretty good one because I will tell you this much: when I flipped over, when I finally said goodbye to Cablevision, Optimum Online, and moved to Verizon Fios, the first thing they asked me is, "What are you doing for your TV? We'll give you the best possible package." And I was like, I like the Sunday ticket, the NFL Sunday ticket. So they were like, okay, we can bundle a DirecTV package for you. And I said, wait a minute, how are you going to bundle that for me and your Verizon? But that's when I noticed these companies are getting into bed with each other.
Exactly.
I guess the common goal.
There's no longer just one provider where we used to go turn on the television, and I don't know how far back you go, but I remember Sunday nights coming home, turning on the television, and you had Wild Kingdom, and it was brought to you by the Mutual of Omaha. Not to throw names out. So you had a company that made a product or had a product, and they would sponsor a television show. And they usually produce very good content. And that content was only available on that one channel.
Right.
Flash forward, a television show or a movie or a video that you watch on HBO, next month will be on Showtime. The month after that will be on Cinemax. And these companies just keep recycling the same television shows. So who's really...
Not only that, but they're recycling the same rebooted movies.
Exactly.
Because if you notice, that seems to be the new trend going on nowadays. Hey, I want to ask you a question about... so I have the main streaming video services, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Fire. I did some research. I came up with Vudu and Plex. Give me we know about the top three. Give me your definition of Vudu.
All right,
it's spelled VUDU.
VUDU, yes. Vudu is, it's almost like a rental service for your television or for the type of videos that you want to watch. You sign up an account, and from your mobile device, from any web-enabled device, and they even have a little Vudu streaming device that's available now. And it's also available through Google Play and the Google Play Store. You can get a Vudu app. And you select what movies you want to watch. You select what television shows you want to watch. And you're watching them at your leisure. You're not stuck to exactly what the provider is giving you. And these services are $8, $9 a month. And you can get the same movies that you're seeing by your regular providers, but you're watching them at your leisure. Like we'll all have. Well, I have HBO, and I have to run home every night because at 8:00 I have to watch this show on HBO. A lot of us don't have that flexible schedule anymore, where we're always on the go. So these services like Vudu would allow you to open up a browser, log into a particular account that you have, and select what show you'd like to watch. And now Plex is a little bit more complex than that. I don't know if you're familiar, or if your listeners are familiar with what's called the Sling Box. Sling Box was a little project that was going a while back. It would allow you to connect this little device to your computer. You connect this device to your television or to your entertainment center. Connect the other end of it to your internet or to your modem. Now you can watch your television shows through an application over the internet from your job, you're watching your DVR at home, or you're watching your television service from home. All of the companies now have wised up, and they're into that, which is like at the top of the hour, it started with everyone has an app for that. So this is now television on the go. We're no longer stuck in front of a cable box or in front of a device provided by our cable provider. We're carrying our devices now. That's your smartphones, that's your tablets, that's your PC, that's your iPads. These are devices that we have every single day. And then a lot more of the content providers are now moving into that arena where they've created their own web solutions to allow you to get to that content. So in the next year or so, next quarter, what you're going to be seeing is every company is going to be vying for your service. And the winner is going to be the one that can provide you the best service at the cheapest price. So your prices for cable, the old model, is going to disappear, and rather quickly.
I'm going to have you come back, because not only we need to do something a little bit more extensive with this field, but we got to go into the other field of the Google Fiber, the Google Fi. We got to go into how they can constantly shake up the market with, the legacy way data was provided to you to your home, which, hey, you can get 15 up and 10 down, versus, hey, I can get you a gig if you live in a specific area, which is, more than compatible to an office environment. So we're going to pick another unique time and have a detailed discussion on that. But I guess my final question for you is, if any of our listeners wanted to get in contact with you, what would be the best way for them to whether it's a social media or a website or some way that they can get in contact? I mean, trust me, when they reach out to me, I will forward them to you. But if they wanted to go on their own and do a little bit more research about cord cutters, how could they get in contact with you?
Well, any of you users who wanted to contact me, that can be easily contacted at wrcpc.net @gmail.com, or they can visit my website, wrc-pc.com. I'm sorry, wrc-pc.net, and fill out a little registration form that I have there. Shoot me an email link from that website, and I'll be glad to contact them, speak with them, and provide any other information. This cord cutting thing is going to be very serious in the coming year. So it's something that we all should be aware of. Like I say, we want to lower the footprint of our cable companies in our homes, and the best way to do that is bringing some of your own equipment.
Gotcha. Michael, we want to give you a one-time round of applause. And we will be back in touch with you. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Ted. So please feel free to reach out and contact me anytime. And I'd like to also forward to you some information that you may feel free to hand over to some of your listeners or post on your site. It's just simple information on what is cord cutting. So I'll get that over to you shortly. It just goes a little bit more about who the big six are. And some other devices and stuff that are available with their pros and their cons. So please, when you receive that information, feel free to post it and or forward it over to any of your listeners that need it.
Okay, you got it.
Thanks, Ted.
And that brings our first hour to a close. We want to thank Tiffany Copon. We want to thank Michael LoBianco for joining us. We're going to close out right now really quick, and don't go anywhere because we'll be right back.
One love, yo. Yeah, that's right. He's got.
And we are back for hour number 2. Sorry about that. There's a little bit of technical difficulty. We're going to be back for hour number 2 right now. We're going to go into a quick intro, 10-second intro. We'll be right back. And we are back for most of our radio partners. This is hour number 2. As you know, we have folks that play. We are syndicated, Late Night Parent Radio, syndicated to various different stations from the U.S., New York to L.A., New Zealand to the U.K. Hour number 2, Vigilance, primarily sports related. We had a great first hour of our show. Hour number 2, we're going to have Bucko Bruce joining us to talk. He's joining us to talk the NFL draft. We're going to have Michael Esposito joining us to talk about the Kentucky Derby. And then we're going to have Hizzy McCaleb join us to talk about the resurgence of boxing. I mean, I saw some great things over this weekend. Number one, want to give a quick shout out to the WWE Network. Great network. We're doing some work with them on the side. We will be at Monday Night Raw in Uniondale, Memorial Day. Really excited about that. An event I was just at. I just want to get this right. CookingByTheBook.com is a great website. CBTB Inc. is the Twitter handle. Had a great time with them last week. A group of bloggers got together, primarily mom bloggers, and they wanted to know a dad's perspective. So I sat and spoke with them for about 90 minutes on blogging. We cooked some food with a few good chefs. They are located 13 Worth Street in downtown New York, about 8 blocks away from the World Trade Center. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful folks out there. What else? Tomorrow night we'll be attending the Avengers premiere. Was invited to that. Myself and my son will be attending. Really excited about that. I'm just trying to sit here and remember. Over the weekend, I saw UFC 186. I also saw Extreme Rules. As you know, every week, the Happy Hour Network has a plethora of shows that are on the network, from Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue, which I co-host along with Todd Vandenberg and Lee Val. The Big Orange Show, which is currently right now in hiatus, but it's coming back shortly, folks. They talk about all Tennessee sports, primarily led by Lee Val, Todd Vandenberg, and lately we've had the lovely Sharona on there. On Tuesday nights, Ryan Neiman, who joins us from Sports District Radio. And I don't know if I just lost you. Ryan Neiman from Sports District Radio. And he comes on every Tuesday night or Tuesday afternoon. Of course, you know, Late Night Parents comes on every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. We usually go for 60 minutes. The last couple of weeks, we've been trying something out. We've been going for 120 minutes because we've had a bunch of folks on here to talk about various topics. Thursday, NBA Full Court Press. Danny Thompson talks with the latest and greatest folks in the NBA. Friday is Earnestly Speaking radio show. I think he might have changed the name, But I know it's the Earnestly Speaking. I'm not sure if everything is going to be Earnestly Speaking podcast, but EJ Christian and G. Stelio, and a lot of times Rosalind Ross from Nashville, the TV show, they kind of team up together and talk about the latest and greatest and what's going on. Right now in the queue, we're going to have none other than Bucko Bruce joining us. I know he's about a minute or so away. So let me just go really, really quick. And there were a couple of things that were on the Late Night Parents website we were talking about, we were happy to talk about over the past week. A bunch of articles were pushed out because there was a backlog. I'm not sure really what happened, but there was a backlog on what's happening with the latest and greatest. But as I mentioned in hour one, in the line of fire, it's an urgent message that provides successful strategies for raising kids in a violent world. It's that living in a peaceful world from hatred, bigotry, bullying, and violence may seem to be an impossible journey. Violence surrounds us and overwhelmingly dominates our lives through crime-based TV shows, video games, social media, and not to mention our daily news feeds, which include hate crimes, bullying, school shootings, and domestic violence. I mean, and that's also true with what we've been, visualizing over the last couple of days. So I'll go into really quick the stats that reveal a shocking truth. Every day in the United States, boys who witness domestic violence are twice as likely to be an abuser as an adult. 7 children or teenagers are killed by firearms. 187 children are arrested for violent crimes. 1,837 children are identified as abused or neglected, and 2,857 high school students drop out. Miss Jan Arnaud was kind enough to forward me her book. I'm in the process of reading it, and it just resonated with what we were watching on TV. So I had wanted to give a shout-out to In the Line of Fire, Raising Kids in a Violent World. But none other than my brother, Bucko Bruce, is here. Happy to bring him on. Bucko Bruce is, I'd like to say he's a Bucks insider because, I find out all the latest information from him. He's going to give us...
They don't pay me.
He's going to give us his number one pick, his opinion on who the Bucks will pick number one in the NFL draft. Who's going first, Winston or Mariota? But before I even get started, Bucko, is so good to hear you on the radio, and it was so good to break bread with you a few weeks ago. And Smyrna, Georgia, at Vercaris. If I got it right, I want to make sure I have it right. Was it Vercaris?
That's it. Varner's.
All right.
Varner's.
Like I said, first time I was ever in Smyrna, Georgia, but I had to go see my brother from another mother, Bucko Bruce. Bucko, it's a pleasure to have you. What's going on?
Ted, man, pleasure to be here, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's good to have you in the city where the future Brave Stadium will be in a couple of years, and next time you come, that's where we'll be. And
definitely.
And that was good. Always good to be with you, brother. Everything's good here. It's ready for Thursday, man. It's here. It's going by so fast.
Listen, before we even get to Thursday is officially less than 3 hours away. We got to get down to some real business. The real business is how is it with, you are a father of 2 daughters, but now you have a newborn daughter. How does that feel? What are your thoughts? Let's talk about it real briefly.
Man, first and foremost, thankful and blessed to have 3 healthy, happy children and being able to provide a home for them. That's number one. I got to say thank you for that blessing I have. But number 2 is looking at the world outside of these walls, man, I'm nervous as a parent for these 3 beautiful girls. And what world am I putting them out into? You know what I mean? The outbreaks of the past couple of days and like life outside of these walls being so hectic. I'm just so thankful to have peace and love inside these walls, man. I wouldn't ask for anything better. The 3 girls are great. The youngest, Kylie, is finally sleeping at least 6 hours at a time, so the old man gets a little bit of rest now. Life is good, man.
That's good. Well, Bucko, we got to be truthful. You got to tell the listeners that I put a whipping on you in darts.
I wouldn't go as far as to say that. I'd say we were both so unenthused with the game we were playing, we just said to hell with it. But I believe at the time you may have been slightly ahead.
You know, you were a gracious host, Bucko. I will tell you, like I said, we can go on forever. Bucko, let's get into it. The NFL, the draft is going to be happening in less than 22 hours. The NFL draft will be happening. Everyone in America is going to be watching this. Globally, everyone's going to be watching this. But, I just want to focus on the team that has the number 1 pick. And there's one person that in America that I know who can talk about the Buccaneers with all the heart in the world, and that's you, Bucko Bruce. So give us your take on what the Bucs are going to do.
Well, I've told you 2 years ago, I had a really, really strong feeling we were going to suck just bad enough to have a chance at a kid named Jameis Winston. And everything is falling into place perfectly. There's no reason on God's green earth Jameis Winston is not a Tampa Bay Buccaneer in 24 hours, period. You got me?
I know this much, Buck. Yeah, I got you loud and clear.
I think I lost connection there for a second. Sorry, bro.
Oh, no. You didn't. I will tell you this much. You introduced me when we used to sit on a radio show that came on Wednesday nights down the dial, Barbershop Sports, inside the barbershop. You would always tell me every week about this kid, Jameis Winston, and being the greatest thing ever. And I was able to go to work and have that same conversation amongst my colleagues and say, yeah, Jameis Winston, keep your eyes open for him. And they was like, how do you know about this guy? And I was like, Bucko told me.
Oh, it's good as gold then. You can take that to the bank, right?
Oh, my goodness. But,
no, man. It's been troublesome. Yeah, it's been troublesome to be as heavy a fan. I admire the kid. His strength, his fortitude, his unwavering, smile at all times, given all the adversity, still moving forward, man. Most of the claims that have come out against him have been explained a little bit more thoroughly, which kind of clears, in my mind, a little bit of the negative aura. Like the whole Crab story is now, being revealed that he did not want to oust the Publix employee that was giving him the hookup. He just took the rap for it. And I think there's a little bit of honor in that, even though technically it's stealing. There's sometimes honor amongst thieves, So I don't look at the transgressions that he has been put through as negatively as most of our critical media does. I personally am thankful I get to be a fan of this young man at the college and pro level. And I'm excited to see it.
No, I know you are. So is it, with thoroughly vetting this young man and going through I've never seen an athlete more than Jameis Winston who has been in front of the camera and people have asked tough questions to. And has he done some questionable things? Of course he has. Mm-hmm. Will he be the number 1 pick? I think so.
Yeah.
Will he be a game changer in, 5, 6, 7 years? I would believe so, but you know better than me. And like I said, for the last 2+ years, I've heard you scream Jameis Winston, famous Jameis. And is he someone who's going to bring the BUCS to the promised land?
There are very few things that can't be taught or coached up. One of them is speed, one of them is arm strength, and the other is just an undeniable willingness to win. To never quit. To when the moment is its biggest, you're at your best, so to speak. And that's something that he has, man. Like, Florida State last year was not a very good football team. Coming off a national championship win and losing a lot of talent. They were depth depleted in very key areas. Even Jameis made a few mistakes, but that man in the fourth quarter of every game somehow played flawlessly. And that's what you have to have at this next level, is that ice water in your veins that Geno Smith seems to lack. And that's why I think he'll be a great pro.
That's good. I guess we can just real briefly talk about, since you're sure where Jameis is going, I got to ask you, where's Mariota going?
Honestly, I do think he's going to go too. Whether that's to Tennessee or not is yet to be told. I think Tennessee's kind of in a real tough spot. Their owner died. Bob McNair died a couple of years ago, and they've had a CEO, so to speak, running things, and then he resigned, and now they're so in flux with where they're going to be as the ownership structure, and then the team itself is 2-14 with no foreseeable future at quarterback. Zach Mettenberger doesn't look like anything more than a serviceable backup. No real talent, so to speak, on the defensive side of the ball. So I think honestly they would be foolish to not accept. Like, I believe Cleveland offered them today. They have a pick 12 and pick 19 in the first round this year. They offered them both of those for 2. And I think they'd be foolish to not try to accumulate picks to get better.
Wow.
Because Mariota does not make them better. So we'll see what happens, but I do think Mariota goes too.
I will say this much. With Cleveland going that aggressively, so I guess they're saying that they're ready to pull the plug on the Johnny Manziel project.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, when the guy's going through off season, taking it as a joke, being in a circus, going to Vegas, doing shots with Gronk, and then spends the next 4 months in rehab and publicly going through that. Do you really want to go down that road any further? I think I realized I took a wrong turn and turned around, personally.
I think so, Bucko. I think so. So you got both of them going 1 and 2. What are you expecting? Are you expecting a Brady Manning type, competition between Jameis and Mariota? Are we expecting something more like a Kaepernick, Russell Wilson type of competition, between these two? I know it depends on where Mariota lands, but with the two of them being kind of linked together, do we see like a Ryan Leaf, Peyton Manning type of scenario?
Well, I think more so the Leaf-Manning scenario versus Brady. Both of these guys have, a unique skill set that can bring greatness. The only issue is we know one guy, ability-wise, can do it. The thing that's so intriguing about Mariota is what you don't know. You don't know if he can take a snap from center. You don't know if he can run a pro-style offense. You don't know. And just like you didn't know it about Ryan Leaf coming out of college. You didn't know how he'd handle pressure. You know how he'd handle scrutiny. He was such a mild-mannered guy. And I wonder if Mariota explodes on a couple of reporters in the locker room when he starts off pretty rough. So I think that may be closer to actuality, but these guys' career are forever going to be linked together because of the Rose Bowl game of 2015 and them being drafted together. They're always going to be linked together, but I don't think there's a question of who the better quarterback is, and that's Jameis Winston.
I got to ask you a real tough question, Bucko. and you and I always have tough conversations. The tough question is this. There was a tweet or there was an article that went out this week. A senior NFL exec said Winston will be a bust like Jamarcus Russell. And I kind of hear that Jamarcus Russell comment being mentioned a lot with Jameis Winston. It's sad. What is it?
It's sad, actually. It's sad. Think about it, okay? Now, the real clever thing of this, Ted, is unnamed senior VP. You know, if you got some statements like that, some bold statements like that, put your name behind it. You know, if you want to put your little statement out there, put your name on it so we can see you when you're wrong.
Right.
Look at what you're looking at. You're looking at two guys, both from Alabama, you know, both a couple of troublesome youth ages, teenage ages, you know, some little issues in their past. Both not necessarily the prototypical muscle build, and both black. So I think what's always been a problem with the NFL, there's been a little bit of extra scrutiny placed upon African-American quarterbacks. Whether people want to go down that road with me or not, I really don't care. I believe that natural bias is set in, and there's really none of these senior VPs are doing anything to change it. They're not looking at it with an open mind. They want to lump everybody in the same category, and I think that's cowardice, and I think it's crap, personally. Jamarcus Russell could never be the level of competitor and football player that Winston is, period.
The one thing I will say about Jamarcus Russell, whether, you know, people talk about his weight and talk about this issue or that issue, that young man has $30 million in the bank that he was able to collect it, even if he never takes another snap in the NFL. And we hope that he's managing his money properly. He has $30 million in some type of account that maybe these anonymous senior NFL execs don't have.
The air quotes. You got to have the air quotes up when you say it, too. You know? I mean, it's ridiculous, Ted. It really is ridiculous. That if you, to put that type of label on somebody and not want to put your name behind, like, I'll tell you right now, Jameis Winston's going to be a star. I don't care. You can put my name on it, stamp it, and bring it in my face 10 years later if I'm wrong or right, whatever. I'm not going to be anonymous about it.
Bucko, I want to shift gears a little bit. We know and we love you. So what's been happening, or what are your plans? What are your plans? What are Bucko Bruce's plans for the media, getting back on internet radio? I know you always stay in the mix with XM Sirius NFL channel. What's on the horizon for you, brother?
Well, I mean, you know, obviously it's a passion line. It's something I enjoy. You know, the right opportunity comes available. I'm not going to say no. I just, you know, with being the changes in family and the additions and, you know, putting everything in perspective, I had to take a hiatus. But no, I'm pursuing avenues of getting back on the radio regularly, if not, you know, in a guest capacity as a full-time host. I'm just, you know, more so weighing options and trying to find the right one that fits me.
Gotcha.
And hopefully that'll be soon enough.
Gotcha. Well, Bucko, as always, you know, we love you and appreciate you. And like I said, it was the feeling I had sharing a beer with you and just sitting there with you and just talking that grown man talk that we've always talked about over the phone. You know, we always talked on the phone or sending text messages. It was good connecting with you. You know, you always have there's always an open line here on Late Night Parents. And you know we'll always call you because you know we'll always call you. My last question to you is via social media, what are the best ways to get in contact with you? Any of our listeners want to get in contact with you because you're a great follow on Twitter. But the folks need to know.
Yeah, I'm at BuckoBruce83. Same, Facebook.com/BuckoBruce83. BuckoBruce83 at Gmail. Get at me. I love to chop it up. I'm not afraid. Engage me. I'll engage back. And it's always a pleasure to come on Late Night Parents, man. Anytime you want me here, I got the phone for you. As long as I'm not performing Doctor removing splinters from my kids' feet, just to let you run on the deck with no shoes.
Oh my goodness, Bucko, we want to give you a one-time round of applause as always. And I will be talking with you tomorrow, brother. One love.
Yes, sir. God bless. Thank you, sir. Good to talk.
And that was Bucko Bruce. We like to say Bucks Insider. He told us about Winston, Mariota. He told us about the Bucks. We're going to see if his predictions are correct. In the queue, we got my good friend, Michael Esposito. We're going to talk Kentucky Derby. Just really want to go through 5 tips for improving a kid's game. In the next few weeks, we're going to have a legendary street baller, Grayson, the Professor Boucher, on Late Night Parents. And the professor offers a few tips. We have a blog on the site. Real quickly, I'll mention, he says, footwork is the key. Getting used to staying low. In basketball, you want to protect the ball. Training at the speed of the game. And always be a student of the game. And also there's a promo for Power Your Hands. And check out Power Hands, another good sponsor of our show. We want to say thank you also. Before Michael Esposito comes on to talk Kentucky Derby, we want to say thank you to our friends at Schick. We want to say thank you to our friends at Icy Hot also. As I mentioned before, the folks at the WWE, all of our friends from various PR firms, we thank you for supporting us all the time. All of our radio partners, we want to thank you also for all that you do for us in helping us get the word out. Newest person in the queue for radio partners, Rant Radio. I've been talking with these folks, I don't know, about 4 or 5 months. It's really simple. Once you listen to the show, you're going to want to play it on your network, period. With that said, we'll go into none other than, I like to say I'm still his co-host, Michael Esposito of our baseball show from last year. But I had so much love in Atlanta. I got to see Bucko Bruce, but at the Mets when they played the Braves, I got to see and meet my good friend Michael Esposito. Espo, what's going on?
What's up, Teddy? 2 teams?
What's up, man? What's up? We are here. It's 9:30. It's 9:30. It's good to see you a few weeks ago, brother.
Yeah, man, definitely. And we got to get that baseball show back on the run. We were waiting for the season to start, and then we got caught up in our Mets, fantastic start that we had there.
I know.
We forgot we have an obligation to fill. Now that football's over, we got to get back into the baseball show.
I mean, it's like, Espo, you are like the Ernie Johnson of the Imagination Network, because you can go from horse racing to baseball to football, talk a little basketball, and that's good. It shows that you're multi-talented. The Saturday, there's so much happening, but I felt like I would be remiss if we didn't talk Kentucky Derby. So what's happening in that world?
Well, greatest race in history is going to take place on Saturday. I'm sure it'll be overshadowed by the Mayweather fight, but it's going to be a great race. There's 20 qualified horses here in this race that are. There's money to be made this year. I can tell you that, because the guy who I think is an absolute lock is not the favorite. He's not great odds, but you can still make a pretty good buck off of him. We'll see. Today was the draw. They did all the draw for where they're going to be running out of. A couple of horses that got some bad draws that are no longer going to be contenders because they haven't won since like 1990, from that position or even ever. So you got to eliminate some of them. But, I mean, it's going to be a good race. It's the best, like I say, it's always the best 2 minutes in race in sports, period. The best 2 minutes in sports. There's nothing better than that.
I got to tell you, last year when we were on the show Down the Dial, Barbershop Sports, Inside the Barbershop, you introduced all of our listeners to California Chrome. You were that person talking about California Chrome, and the fact that the horse didn't win the Triple Crown, I mean, you kind of made me a believer because I was like, hey, it was similar to what was so great about the show that we used to do was Bucko would talk football, you would talk all these other ancillary sports, and I would go to work looking like a guru.
Yeah. Get a little bit from everywhere, man, yeah. Now, there is a horse this year. There is a horse this year that is similar to California Chrome in the way I feel about them. Obviously, we haven't been on, to talk about it much, but I've been on this horse since the beginning of the year. I watched, obviously, all of the races from beginning to end. And I've been, starts in January, the prep races. So what I've been looking at this horse, and he's an absolute monster. His name's Dortmund, Dortmund. Morning line 3-1. Second choice. He's not the favorite. He's undefeated. That's the main thing. He's won 3 races last year as a 2-year-old. He's won all his races this year, and he's won them dominantly. His father, the horse that was his sire, he was Big Brown. That name may ring a bell because Big Brown won the Kentucky Derby in 2008 and the Preakness and pulled up lame in the Belmont up by the top of the stretch. Otherwise, he would have been a Triple Crown winner. So that's his father. So, we know he can get the distance because his father did it. And his father did something that no horse has ever done before, won from the 20 spot, which, if you don't know, the Kentucky Derby field is 20 horses. That means there's a gate. There's one gate that goes 1 to 14 or 1 to 12, and then the next one's 13 to 20. So 20 is literally 19 horses away from the rail. You're really far out, and if you got to win from there, it's tough because you got to navigate around 19 horses. You got to be able to break quick, and you got to get left quick because you're all the way out there in no man's land. So, and if Big Brown can do it, then his son Dortmund can do it with Bob Baffert training and Martin Garcia. That's the horse I think is going to be rising above everybody else in the Derby. He may win by 5 lengths. I don't think that there's a horse in the field that can compete with him.
Hey, I want to switch gears for a second. Who's the best jockey in the game?
Well, really, that's like asking who the best race car driver is. It depends on the track. It depends on the track and what they got under them. Sometimes you can put a great jockey on a terrible horse, and guess what? It ain't gonna matter. He can have all the right moves. If the horse don't go, the horse don't go. So, right now, you got a couple of good. There's a couple of great jockeys out there. You always got to watch out whoever's got Calvin Borel up on top on the Kentucky Derby. Whoever's horse he's riding is always got a shot to win. The horse, he's pulled numerous wins at the Derby with a horse that's 50-1 by just sneaking by on the rail and getting everybody else once they're tired. So any horse that's running with Calvin Borel as the jockey, you got a shot to win some money there. But there's a bunch of good jockeys out there. Martin Garcia is one. He's one of the better ones. Mike Smith. Like I said, Calvin Borel. There's a bunch of jockeys, depending on where they're racing, that are really, really good.
Gotcha. So I want to thank you for giving us the 101 because as each race is about to happen of the Triple Crown, we're going to have you come in for a few minutes to give us your insight because Espo, you know what you're talking about. I don't, and the fact that you're a Mets fan, so
yeah. Well, I appreciate you having me on, man.
Definitely.
I appreciate you having me on, and I'll definitely, like I said, go Dortmund. He's going to be the number 8 horse on Saturday. Check it out, NBC, 6:40 Eastern Time.
Hey, Espo, what's the best way to get in contact with you via social media?
Facebook, it's Mike Esposito, and on Twitter, SoftballMike99.
All right. So I will be posting the SoftballMike99 Twitter handle up on the site because I'm telling you, this guy better win.
Follow us on there. We got some good conversations going.
Oh, yes, definitely. Mike, we want to give you a round of applause. Espo, thanks so much, and we will be in touch as always.
All right, man. Have a good night.
You too. And that was Michael Esposito, Softball Mike 99, as always coming through, whether it's NFL draft, horses, soccer, MLB, NFL, not so much with the NBA, NHL. He's your guy. He's the Ernie Johnson of the Imagination Network. In the queue, we have none other closing out the show, Big H5. I just got to read this quick post on 10 steps to dealing with a combative ex. How to protect your children. Dealing with a divorce is never easy. In fact, it's one of the most stressful and grueling experiences to go through. Whatever the issues are which ended the marriage, being divorced can be harder than it was ever being married, especially if you share children. When divorced couples share children, there's no ending to the relationship, which makes moving on difficult because the children bind, the exes together for life. We not only have to deal with our exes, but we have to deal solely with all aspects of them that we try to divorce. So it's something impossible not to react, but there are always ways to find that self-control and an effort to protect emotions of the children. This is from Sherry Campbell, PhD. She's coming on Late Night Parents in the month of May. 10 quick steps to take with a combative ex: brief and factual communication, eliminate money talk, privacy, self-control, self-awareness, respect the custodial schedule, respect custodial time, eliminate tensions for the children, have integrity, worry about your own life. Little life message. When we take good care of ourselves and our emotions, we teach and model for our children to do the same. So really, really excited to have Sherry Campbell in the next upcoming weeks. She's, licensed psychologist with 2 decades of clinical training and experience providing counseling and psychotherapy services. So really, really excited about that. But I guess we're going to get into it because it's almost 40 minutes past the hour. We're about to close out our final guest. We're saving the best for last. None other than my boy, my guy, H5, Hezzy McCaleb. And I guess we're just going to talk about his sport. I like to say it was my sport on Saturday night when I was watching the Klitschko-Jennings match. But H5, what's going on?
Hey, man. What's happening, brother? Good to be here, man.
I'm glad you're here. It feels like home to have all my brothers on the line, one after one, because I'm telling you, you might not want to talk about it. Other folks may not want to talk about it, but I smell a reunion. It's going to be like Bobby Brown and New Edition.
Yeah. It's the Barbershop Sports Coming Home tour, huh?
Oh, my goodness. I'm telling you, but without further ado, you are the host of The Filthy Dish, and it's a great show on Friday nights. Some people like to say it has sensitive material. Some people like to say it's a little raw. I just think you guys, Stacey and Nicole, keep it real, especially when Miles comes on the show from Pink Celebrity. So I want to give you a definite shout out on your show on Friday nights. Down the dial, and that dial is virtual because it's blogtalkradio.com/Imagination is the network. But you didn't come on to talk about the filthy dish. You came on to talk about something that's happening in boxing. You got people penning open letters. You got this madness that's happening in May Day in the next 48 hours, maybe 72 hours. You got people spending all type of money. I mean, what is the deal with boxing? Is boxing back?
Hey man, I would say boxing is definitely back with a thunder, man. We of course, obviously, you got this weekend, May-Pac. This fight has been building. You know, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen over the last 6 years? And this is probably going to be one of the biggest sporting moments in history. So yeah, man, boxing is definitely back, brother.
That's good. That's good because I'm going to tell you this much. I was, I see the amount of people that are just excited talking about this event. And it's like, yes, it should have happened 5, 6, 7 years ago. Yes, this should be the third, and final climactic fight right now. But it didn't happen. It made you wait, and guess what? You're still bucking up, and you're still paying for it. It's something that's life-shattering. I would never expect. I think you schooled me to the fact that standard definition is going to be $89.99. High definition is $99. If you want to go into a pub, or if a pub or bar or one of those type of sports bars wants to have it, upwards of $6,000 to air the fight. I would never think that boxing would be at this point because Mike Tyson, he's gone and he's not coming back.
No, man. Mike Tyson is doing comedy now, man. So, look, man, Floyd Mayweather is a tremendous fighter in the ring, but what a lot of people don't realize is that he's also a tremendous businessman outside of the ring. I mean, he's self-promoting himself. This whole event and all of his events, he has a direct hand in, how these things break down. So he has a lot of control. Like you just mentioned the price point for the standard def. Then there's also a price point for the high def. $89 for standard, $99 for high def, man. He has definitely got his finger on the pulse of business today, man. So it's amazing the impact that he's having, and it's not just good for him; it's good for the sport of boxing. Period.
I think we've seen a resurgence with primetime boxing or premier boxing that comes on NBC or NBC-SN. I mean, I haven't seen this in years. We can, occasionally expect a fight on HBO or Showtime. I can't tell you the last pay-per-view that I've paid for. I think it was during the Tyson era. Yeah. And I know y'all would always like to get on me about my age, but yeah, I was purchasing pay-per-view back in the Mike Tyson era. I know you guys were like 10 years old back then, but it's okay.
It's not to interrupt, but just real quick. Years ago, Mike Tyson, like you just mentioned, was a heavyweight fighter, and heavyweights drove the sport of boxing. The other weight classes were kind of like afterthoughts. Well, we just had a major heavyweight fight with Klitschko and Brian Jennings, and that was the afterthought. So it just goes to show how years later things have changed. Now a welterweight fight is the big thing with Mayweather and Pacquiao.
Right. But I know you're a boxing purist because Hagler Hearns Duran, it's like it was. I mean, those were the fights that made a difference. Those were the type. I mean, that was boxing in its heyday, and I find it hard. I mean, will boxing just be back for one night? Because it's taken over all the sports media companies are locally in Vegas. But is this just for one night? Because, like I said, the Klitschko-Jennings fight was at MSG. It was the first time, I think you told me it was the first time he was fighting in the U.S. in 7 or 10 years, and it kind of wasn't publicized. Yeah. I mean, it was a packed house there, but I don't know. It's just like it was missing something. This just has an aura about it.
Yeah, I think that that fight really kind of suffered from the huge PR push for Pacquiao and Mayweather. If it wasn't around that date time, it probably would have got a lot more pub than it did, because they really had, like you said, a story there. A guy who's been the heavyweight champion for the last 9 years. He's made 17 title defenses, which is more than greats like Muhammad Ali and more other fighters, that have been up there, Joe Frazier and a few others. But yeah, it was just he just suffered from the timing. But outside of that, there are great fighters that a lot of people need to know about. Terrence Crawford is another one. He just recently had a fight against Thomas Delorme out of Puerto Rico. But Terrence Crawford is, I would say, the next Mayweather. He's at super lightweight right now, and probably be moving up to 147 really soon. So people stay tuned for him. Gennady Golovkin is another fighter folks need to pay attention to. He's got a fight coming up. He's on a Mike Tyson-like, we just talked about Tyson. He's on a Mike Tyson-like knockout streak with 19 straight. He's got a fight coming up. These are names that people need to know about. Canelo Alvarez, obviously, a lot of folks that know about the Alvarez-Mayweather fight where Mayweather pretty much wiped the floor with the kid. Don't give up on him yet. Mayweather's just a tremendous fighter, but Canelo Alvarez is going to be fighting James Kirkland really soon, and that guy's a knockout artist. So, it's not just one night. Boxing is definitely coming back with a vengeance.
So, has your great follow on Twitter, Genuinely H5, where you and I, we talk tech. We talk some sports, but I think we mainly talk tech on there, and just what's the latest and greatest with mobile devices. But the question I do have for you, Pacquiao Mayweather, who do you have Saturday night?
Ooh, you put me on the spot. I'm not going to go with the obvious pick, man. I'm rolling with Manny Pacquiao.
Gotcha. I will say this much. I am rolling with the Pac-Man also. I just got a feeling that I don't think it's going to be a knockout, but I think he's going to put a hurting on him. And I'm just going to leave it like that. So tell me, what are you doing? Or, where are you viewing the fight? Are you going to a bar, or are you going to knuckle up and pay the $100? Because I know you're not going to pay the $89 for the standard def. I know how this player rolls.
Well, if I'm going to get it, man, I'm definitely going high def and getting the $99 package. I'm still undecided. I got an offer from a friend of mine, the great D2.5 of NBA football full court press, Danny Thompson. Thinking about maybe going to a bar or just hosting it at the crib. I guess I better make a decision real soon because it is quickly approaching.
Yeah, buddy.
It's quickly approaching, man. So, I definitely don't think I want to go to a bar because anywhere you go, this fight is so big, it's going to be jam-packed. So, most likely, it's either going to be at the great D2.5 or at the crib, man.
Gotcha. I guess real quickly, we can dip over to MMA, and I'm just going to say one name to you. John Bones Jones.
Luckily, this is not the filthy dish, so I can't say what I really want to say. Go ahead.
Right. I'm just saying that if what is true, if what's being alleged is true, because I'm sure he's going to have his day in court. But a hit and run, and I think the person was the woman was pregnant, and he got out the car and left. But it's just like it's those situations that happen with these athletes, and we talked about this for years down the dial on Barbershop Sports, where we would say, where's the handler? Where's the common sense? If something like this happens, you stop. You say, okay, this is an issue. This is the same person that, didn't he just get caught for having cocaine and all this other stuff? I think as of today, the UFC stripped him of his title, and I think he was going to be, the card himself. He was going to be the card himself for maybe 187. But he's totally. They popped his collar, and I'm sure this is going to be talked about on the Filthy Ditch on Friday night, 9 p.m. But it's like, what's wrong with these guys?
That's classic case. You are your own worst enemy there. I mean, he rented a car, like you said. He ran a red light, hit a woman who was pregnant. She broke her wrist, broke her forearm. Now, we're talking about a war, the guy that's known for knocking people out. He cowardly left the scene, fled the scene on foot. Then he went back to the scene, took the money out of his car, fled the scene again. The whole time an off-duty police officer was watching this thing go down. They ended up searching the car, found out there was paperwork with his name on it. There was marijuana in the car and other drug paraphernalia. So, yeah, I mean, this guy's completely destroyed himself in his career.
It's over. Like I said, someone...
we will be playing the You Big Dummy sound on Barbershop Sports.
Yes. He would definitely deserve that. I mean, I just don't get it. I don't get these athletes. I mean, I've said all along, you, myself, and a few others should put our heads together and get this handler business going, and we would be billionaires.
Man, that's definitely a phone call to Olivia Pope right there, man. For all those scandal folks out there. He definitely needs an Olivia Pope in his life.
Oh, my goodness. So, before we close out, tell us what's going on with the Filthy Dish.
Oh, well, tomorrow night, obviously, we're going to be chopping it up about this whole John Bones Jones situation, but there's some other major things going on as well, which is kind of cool. We're going to branch on sports a little bit, that bridge between sports and pop culture. Russell Wilson is supposedly dating Ciara now. He took her to the state dinner. So if you don't know who Russell Wilson is, obviously a Super Bowl winning quarterback of Ted's Seattle Seahawks.
Yes.
Yeah, man. So we got that and a whole lot more, man. Obviously, Avengers is coming out on Thursday. So tomorrow that's coming out. So we're going to talk about the impact of the Avengers movie and so much more, man. We do pop culture all the way, brother.
As always, like I said, it's one of those things where you're not sure what you're going to get, but it's an interesting show, and with the different personalities, you find yourself sitting there and you're saying, "Oh my goodness, I've listened for an hour, I've listened for 90 minutes. This was great." And I know from time to time I call up to join in. And if I can't call up, I usually tweet about a subject that y'all are going to talk about or wondering about what y'all are going to talk about, because it's always something controversial. And I love the comedy side of it, how you guys look at this, look at that approach. But you're definitely doing a great job with your co-hosts. Nicole and Stacy, and of course with the push you guys are getting with Pink Celebrity. We definitely love Miles. And it's kind of like the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit, and it's like you kind of, in a way, have recreated barbershop sports, but just with the female panelists.
Yeah, it's funny how that kind of shaped up. I didn't really plan it that way, but it's just a little bit raw version of it.
Yes. So, I mean, but as always, so Hez, tell us the best ways via social media, because, I mean, you're all over the place. Tell us the best ways to get in contact with you.
Well, I streamlined it. I am genuinely H5 on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Google+. It kind of blew the dust off of that one with Google+, but yeah, genuinely H5 all across social media. Also, the show, The Filthy Dish, is at The Filthy Dish on Twitter. Shout out to them. And real quick, I want to shout out to the Florida Podcasters Association. I was just at Florida Podcast 2015. So a lot of love there, a lot of knowledge. Met a lot of folks out there like ourselves, Brother Ted, out there doing their shows. So it was really, really cool. Filthy Dish got love. And we're just trying to spread the gospel, brother.
Definitely. And like I said, you and I are trying to put together something for Fort Worth. I'm still working on the courage to ask for the clearance. As you know, that's code just in case if my sister-in-law or brother-in-laws are listening. I just need the courage to ask for that. That I don't know that.
Gonna have to get our Moses going into Pharaoh asking to let my people go on, man.
I'm telling you, it's something like that.
We gotta get you in Fort Worth, man.
I'm telling you. I mean, I kind of like what you were telling me last week, but definitely we want to thank you and give you a one-time round of applause for always joining us. And say thank you, as always, H, for always coming through.
Anytime.
We appreciate you, and much love.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, man.
I'll be on your show before you know it. Talk to you later.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Peace.
And that was H5 coming through here as usual. Had a great show tonight. Hour one, we talked with Tiffany Copon. We talked with Michael LoBianco. Talked with Bucko Bruce. Hour two, NFL. Michael Esposito talked Kentucky Derby. And, of course, we talked boxing with genuinely H5, Hezzy McCaleb. So we're about to be out of here. We want to say thank you. We love you. And we're closing out with We Reminisce Over You. Prayers go out to all of those in need. I reminisce. Yeah.
I reminisce for a spell, a